on behalf of Brand Club Ahmedabad, I welcome you all to the third session of the first day of Brand Fest 2021. And we are glad that all the participants have taken their valuable time to be a part of this session. Today we have with us a gentleman who has got a hands-on experience on developing and also facing the challenges and also taking the opportunities to build a sports brand. Mr. Sanjay ADESARA from Adani Wilmar is with us. Along with him, we also have a very good friend of mine, Neeraj, who is also a design director and the co-founder of an agency called Ideograph. And he has been very active into this field, has come out with a lot of mind-blowing creative output in this state, in this country. And I think recently he was also a jury member for Cannes, right? Neeraj, if I'm not mistaken.
For the Oscar.
For the Oscar, yeah. So I'll request Neeraj to take the session ahead.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. I think what a brilliant initiative, to get this brand fest going. I remember you talking about this even earlier.
Yeah.
And today, knowing that so many people are, very so easily available to come online, I think this is a great platform. Great start for Ahmedabad, and kudos to you. What a lovely mix we have. And today, so you've already kind of just said a little bit. I'll quickly introduce myself. We run a design company, which primarily we don't call it an agency per se, but we have two design verticals, interior design and graphic design, headed and founded by my wife and my partner, also an interior designer from SET. So both of us come in with interior design as a background, but got into graphic design, branding, strategy, etc. Yes, it's been a good journey of about 20 years, and we've dabbled into multiple areas from especially a lot of food and beverage. That's why I think it'll be great to pick up a lot of things from our guest today. Of course, the point of topic is going to be slightly different, but I think we'll have a lot of exchange of ideas there as well. So yes, we've been involved with a couple of FMCG products, or some brands which got into and started with F&B, went into FMCG as kind of a logical progression. So not much about what we do. I think we'll move on to the rest of the session. Let me quickly introduce our guest today, this evening. So a lot of the industry already obviously knows Sanjay ADESARA, not only in terms of his stint with or having been involved with Adani Wilmar Ltd as the FMCG head. Also, he's been handling media and digital. But I think we can associate the recent change that has happened is the remarkable media campaign such as Ghar Ka Khana of Fortune, the Dadi and the Akshay Kumar, which actually led to a new recognition for Fortune in March 2020. So it was extremely well designed. Maybe the timing, because the world went through this whole pandemic, I think the timing kind of went off, but it got a lot of traction. It's been extremely successful as a revamp of the brand. He was also, Sanjay ADESARA was also named as the Times Marketing Man of the Year 2019. And he also figured in the elite 40, under 40 list of agency reporter, through the agency reporter. Of course, he holds a bachelor's degree in computers from Christ College in Rajkot, followed by an MBA in marketing from MIT Pune. And he's been with Adani Group in various positions for over a decade now, which is a lot. What we're going to be talking about today, besides Sanjay's expertise in brand identity, strategy, equity building, product development, new brand architecture development, and all other cross-functional teams that he has led. Today, our focus is going to be the whole idea of managing a sports team. He's the CEO of Gujarat Fortune Giants, the home team from Gujarat in the Pro Kabaddi League. He's one of the youngest CEOs in the sports business in the country. His eye for perfection, coupled with his analytical skills and marketing mind, made the Giants one of the most successful teams with Pro Kabaddi in just 3 years. So this is where strategy comes in, from design, brand, etc., to making a winning team for the brand that he's been associated with such a long time. Over to Sanjay ADESARA. It will be great to listen to you and to see your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Naresh, for the lovely introduction. Thank you, Brandfest and Sanjay ji, for the fantastic event, I think, which has been conceptualized and being executed for the state. Such kind of events people were looking up to happen in the Gujarat, and currently virtual world is giving us a fantastic opportunity of a convenience. So such events are possible with a lot of convenience, and participation can happen across the state. So that is good. So we'll start with the presentation. I have prepared a small presentation on the subject given to us today. Neeraj, we start with the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Screen, I hope screen is visible to everyone.
It is visible to everyone.
Okay. So the today's subject is challenges and opportunities in creating a sports brand. I think a lot of people has a misconception that creating a brand in the area of sports is very easy. I mean, just the players has to play and rest, everything is done on its own. So that is not the thing. I think creating a brand in sports zone, that is equally or maybe more difficult, challenging than the creating any FMCG or any healthcare brand today. So we'll see how it happens. What is the ecosystem creating a sports branding and everything? Yeah. So there is the sports ecosystem. There are athletes, means there are players, there are fans, sponsors. Each game has its own constitutional body, which is called the federations. So for cricket, we know that BCCI is a cricketing federation, and FIFA is for football. So there are various such federations which controls the game and the athletes. After that, various sports has created a league out of their sports, maybe IPL, Pro Kabaddi, NBA. There are various leagues. So these leagues are owned by outside the federation. It's only the IPL which is owned by the Indian Cricketing Federation, which is BCCI. After that, there is a broadcasters, which is a Star Sports. Globally, there is a Hotstar, Disney, Facebook, YouTube also nowadays, and there is a digital leg to it. And in each league, there are teams, maybe it's a league or it's a national game. There are various leagues. And in that, there are multiple teams which participate in it. So there is the broad ecosystem for any sports. Now, first of all, if you'll have to create a new sport, then you'll have to find your sweet spot. So maybe at Adani Group, at AWL, we were, thinking from a long time that which sport we should start upon. Then we did a small work, and then we zeroed down on the Kabaddi, because Kabaddi is one of the most indigenous Indian originated game, and the the possibility to succeed in a game like Kabaddi was very huge. So there are various permutation combinations on which nowadays people, corporates work upon that. The games which we have played but not followed. There is a TT, there is a volleyball. There's two games in India recently. They have started their own professional leagues out of it, but the viewership numbers are not that great, because table tennis and volleyball, there is no much action on the TV, which as a audience, we like it to watch it on TV. After that, we played and followed also football, cricket, kabaddi, basketball, lawn tennis. These are the still and alien games for us. It's basically out of the India phenomena only. Not played, not followed. Baseball, rugby, we don't know much about those games also. So being into maybe whichever ecosystem of the sports you get into it, maybe starting from a team manager to becoming a sports individual itself, finding such kind of a balance, that where are the possibility of getting it higher beyond sports. At the end of the day, if you are a player and an athlete, so game knowledge is must. But beyond, even if support system today in sport is very huge. I mean, after working in PKL for last 3-4 years, I have came to know that the entire support system, like the nutritionist, physicians, the masseurs. So there is a parallel ecosystem which is currently working upon. So even if you're planning to have your career in that, you need to understand the entire ecosystem of the sport accordingly, and you'll have to find your sweet spot accordingly. Moving forward, the most thing which today RCB is the greatest example. Mumbai Indians, these are the greatest example which we talk about in India for the IPL. Though RCB in last 12-13 season, they have not won any title in the league, but the kind of identity what they have carried for the team from last 12-13 season is fabulous. I think that is what today the fans of RCB associate with. When come to Mumbai Indians, the empathy, the me in MI, that is more relevant. So in any game, any sports, today it is more of a positioning, communication, how you engage with your audience, with your fans. That is equally the planning and the positioning of a team is equally done the way we do any, consumer brand, any healthcare brand. So that is also very crucial. Identifying and communicating it to the right audience. Like we said that what are the challenges today? So for TT, for Kabaddi, for volleyball, there are various challenges today. Though Kabaddi, for Gujarat, the biggest challenge for us is that we don't have any Gujarat originated player in the entire ecosystem of Kabaddi. Even after that, we'll have to create a fan following in the Gujarat. So those kind of challenges will come. So there are various challenges and there are various tactics to handle to it. There are various eco stage in each system. Earlier, female, cricket team was not getting that much traction in the country. From last couple of years, at least, that is being noticed. So overall sports in the country, the ecosystem will grow. Those who are planning to get into the career for the surrounding or the ecosystem of the sports, they'll have to understand where they are fitting overall. Which are the opportunities? Opportunities like, those are the challenges are the opportunities at the end of the day. The table tennis, the volleyball, the few more teams in the IPL, the NBA is planning to come into India. And there are various leagues of basketballs, the baseball, they are planning to get into the India because everyone is now seeing that the next upswing of the, the entire sports ecosystem will happen from the country like India. So that is the reason the entire, the world is eyeing upon India, that the new upswing in sports has to come from India. So all international sports are also currently planning to be in India. Even the leagues for polo, horse polo, they are also planning leagues in India. So a little bit about the Gujarat Fortune Giants, what we call a GFG. It's a 8-season-old league, started in the last 8 years. In 2007, the expansion has happened in the PKL, Pro Kabaddi League. 4 new teams added in the system, and Gujarat was part of that new team. That was in the year 2007. So we have participated in total 3 seasons, which is season 5, season 6, and season 7. And it is, by far so, it is the only sports team which Gujarat has originally. 2 out of 3 seasons we have played, and we have been finalists in the league, though we have not lifted the cup till date, but I am sure that will also happen very soon. The overall GFG, since we started in the season 5, we did not had any baggage. We did all the experiments in the season 5, what we could have thought of, We started with a very young team, not very experiential, but the entire team was a underdog team. Not only the team, the entire coaching staff, the entire support staff, it was more of a gamble because we thought this is the only season, beginning season, we can afford to do this. once we become part of this league, you create baggage of your performance, you create benchmark for yourself also. So in the beginning season only, we did a lot of things and we made the entire, the planning and everything in a way by which that we have 18 young talented players with us. And we did our camping and everything in the Sports Authority of India, Gandhinagar itself, and the star player who was Sachin Tawar starting season 5, he became 18 during the season only. So that was the youngest team in the entire history of PKL, all the teams, and that's what we are still proud of, that team. So these are the small touch points which we have created for our fan base in Gujarat, because at the end of the day, there was no single Gujarati player in the team or in the entire PKL. In Kabaddi, there are hardly any Gujarati players. So making them play Garba, Haryanese playing a Garba is a difficult, thing to happen. But that's how you create a, correlation. That's how you touch the correct vibes in the heart of your fan. So these are the again 5, the touch points. What we decided: the power, the aggression. It's a very grounded. It's a very considered as a rural part of the India game, and the entire PKL has given it a very upliftment of it. Mat, it happens on a mat, from a mud to mat kind of a transition has happened. So since we did not had any star player, we have always given a face of the franchise to our coach, which is a Manpreet Singh. So it is very essential that you'll have to find a perfect balance for your face of the franchise, because chances are higher that a particular phase or the icon of your team may not perform during the season. So it is a very risky affair to dependent upon any one individual in the entire team only. So small AV for that.
Yeah, we're not getting the sound. Now it's there.
Okay, it's coming there?
No.
Okay, no issues. I think, let me try it once more.
તું પેલી કાઈટ ચગી બ્લુ
એ તો નીચે ઉભો તો ત્યારે મેં કીધું પૂછ્યું તો મને
Mansi.
ડોટર
Yeah, not audible. Is it playing at your end?
No sound.
No sound.
Okay, no issues. Then we'll skip the side. But basically the objective is that since the season 5, there was no star player what we have banked upon. we made our coach as the face of the franchisee. You know, it is very essential that one of the at least your ambassador, one of the point by which you'll have to give it to your fan, by which they correlate. So the story of Manpreet was it was a completely transition story. He has been the captain for Patna Pirates for season 3, Dhyan Chand Award winner. So he was carrying a lot of traction around the Kabaddi world across the country, and we offered him the coachship, which was not the earlier case. He has through his career star player only. So we thought that we can bank upon him as a coach also. So in the season 5, we did all the experiments what we could have thought, and that has paid off also. So the fan engagement is also very crucial part of the any sports and the in the current ecosystem across the world. In fact, the fan engagement is one of the very crucial part. There are various levels of the fans. You know, there are just they will just follow it, or they will engross to the till the your performance of the game, and you'll have to talk to each and every stage of your fan. You know, the journey start at the Gujarat Fortune Giants. If you say in Gujarat earlier, nobody heard of it, and today when we do a league in Gujarat, we did it at Trans Stadia, Ahmedabad, Kankaria. I mean, we get there are few people who I have seen at least in last 3 years. Every match in Gujarat, they will follow it. You know, for GFG. So those kind of journey of fan, you'll have to participate, and you'll have to create an empathy for your team, for your sport, for your ambassadors, for the in the mind.
Sanjay, you're not audible.
Lost your voice?
We lost your voice.
Say, which we see in the stadium. There is nothing much happened in the cricket also for India for that fan engagement. But if you see the English Premier clubs, the football clubs internationally, the technology for a fan engagement is so advanced technologically also. And now a lot of companies, a lot of innovation, a lot of tech partners, they are coming to India, and they are exploring that what kind of a fan engagement, how can they improve upon, including TT, badminton, kabaddi, cricket, everything. So in next decade, I feel that the entire country will see a next level of the fan engagement and the enrichment in each and every sport what we play in the country. These are the different, what fan expects from you and how you are supposed to, interact with him. So that you'll have to create basically 4 aspiration, acquire, engage, and monetize. This is a journey how it happens. So you will be surprised that in GFG, though it's a completely a male-dominated and a rural-dominated game, GFG in the season 5 we have launched fashion merchandise. So which is mainly made for the tier A markets and the metro markets, and those kind of merchandise, and that too targeted to a female, did very well. So you'll have to create your fine spot in the each and everything what you do, and that's how you can at least monetize your merchandising, ticketing. So there are various and sports nowadays, it's a serious business. I mean, you can't just give a plain ticket and you can run your team, because your team also has to earn what it spends. So the entire ecosystem is very critical to manage it and monetize it also. Currently, the changing times, we have seen the IPL without any audience, and across the country, globe, in fact, across the globes, the English Premier League happened during the pandemics, and they have created those, the dummy in the stadiums. They have created the sound in the stadiums just to ensure that players are pumped up and everything happens accordingly only. Though, you cannot replicate a real audience or a fan with a technology, but at least it keeps the momentum up in the athlete. These are the few engagement activity what we used to do in normal, but since the audio connection is not there, I will skip it. Now coming to the athlete management. Athlete management is also very, its own, it's a different subject altogether. So starting from the imagery management, the PR part of it, Sailesh Bhai is also there. The entire athlete management is a huge subject, and for any league, any teams, it becomes a very crucial thing to plan it accordingly. So in GFG, we did it. We started with Manpreet Singh. After that, we roped in a new player of Sachin Tawar. Sachin Tawar did not work in the last season. Then we had a different plan in place. So your team is at the end of the day what your players gives a result or a scorecard on the scoreboard. So you'll have to normalize your player power, their scoring abilities. Their winning and losing should not be an effect to your team or to your fan beyond a limit, and your fan should vouch for your team. So those are the entire ecosystem of athletes. And beyond that, the endorsement part of it, the licensing part of it within the player management, athlete management is also very crucial. We did few activities in Gujarat. These are the grassroots, activations, which is equally crucial. Like in football, across the world, there is a La Liga league happens by which they, take the fresh players, they groom it, and they make them part of the teams for a longer amount of time. So in Gujarat also we did Little Giants as an activity where from last 3 years we are, reaching out to the various schools and colleges of Ahmedabad, Baroda, Surat, Rajkot, and they participate. And at least now it's a calendar activity which now students and school colleges also look up to. So that also helps, creating a future talent pool for the players, for the fan base in the state. And at the end of the day, you will get some Gujarat talent in few years. So that is what the aim for Gujarat Fortune Giant is, that in a few years, we should have at least 4 or 5 Gujarati players in the entire PKL system. Like I said, sport is a serious business nowadays, and all of us are aware that IPL rights has been sold at a huge money, 16,000 crore to Star Sports for 5 years, and there is entire maths to it, how it happens and how teams ensure that they get what they spend. So there is a media right, there is entire business model to it, and which there are few teams who have managed it very well in the IPL. Even in the PKL part of it, they have few teams like U Mumbai. There is a team of Abhishek, Jaipur Pink Panthers. They have done it fabulously. They have managed it. So even in a sports, I mean, to maintain and creating a brand in the area of sports, I say it is even more difficult than running a FMCG or any healthcare brand also, because at the end of the day over there, you have a performance of your product in your control. But in sports, the performance control is not in your hand. You can't go on the mat and play it on behalf of a player. The performance of a player at the end of the day will dominate the outcomes of the team, league, and the imagery, the entire ecosystem of it. So to managing a sport brand or a team, it is equally or more challenging than managing any another kind of a brand. This was again a small AV on the GFG, but we'll skip it considering the audio connection. Neeraj, Sanjay ji, I'm through with my presentation. We can open the Q&A session.
Yeah.
Great. So
can we, Neeraj, can we put off the slides so that we can see each other, everyone?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Stop sharing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
great. Thank you so much. You know, I can see that that you've had a lot of fun in this seriousness of this business, and it's as, of course, I think that there's so much of a strategy, and I'm realizing something that you really put so easily is that the product itself is a variable. You know, so most often we work with the product as a constant and everything else as a variable. But here, you know, managing that itself is quite
Difficult.
I think I think the ambiguities are so high, or at least it's not in control.
Very
But what a coincidence! Both are Sanjay, so I'll have to say Sanjay. See, so Sanjay, do you think because there are no other questions which have come on the chat, so I think I've got certain questions that are just coming up.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
So I think I'll just,
please.
So yeah, so you know, so at the beginning, you know, when you were talking about finding that sweet spot, right? Uh, you know, how much is the brand's own brand alignment, and in this case, because it is Fortune as a brand, that's the name that is going to go to the team. How much is that brand alignment really a determining factor in terms of which sport to align with? Because I think that was a choice, right? I mean, as you looked at so many different sports, and obviously viewership being one of it, but you didn't go in for the popular one, right? So how much is that kind of?
So, the role of Fortune in the Kabaddi is not that great. I mean, we are also establishing it because Fortune is also very strong in the rural part of India. But the viewership of Kabaddi comes from the urban market. So if you take top 6 metro, it contributes to at least 50-60% of the Kabaddi viewership. So from last 3 years also, we are still experimenting it, that how can we, leverage the two brands, GFG and a Fortune, cross part of it. But on that part, we are still, yet to find a sweet spot on it. But the major goal of getting into the Kabaddi is that, as a group and being a chairman, our chairman wanted to contribute to the, the nation in a sports way, because I think Adani is into the logistics, infra, agro, everything. Sports was. So we thought we can start with the, indigenous sports, and that's how we zeroed down on the Kabaddi. And Kabaddi is today the second biggest league after IPL in terms of the viewership. And there was an opportunity which was available in the PKL, and that's how we zeroed it down. But believe you me, I mean, today we managed to separate identity on social, digital also for a GFG and for Fortune products also. And consumer is more or less aware. I mean, there will be a very overlap percentage of the two viewership point of view, where will very minuscule percentage of viewership which will be overlapping between my Fortune ad versus a Kabaddi player. But they are somehow, they can correlate with the Gujarat Fortune ads, and in Gujarat, I mean the Fortune foods. So that also is came up in a lot of our in-depth research. I mean, we do a lot of in-depth research with our consumers, and they know that, I mean, Fortune has something to do with the Kabaddi also. So then they share in sympathy towards it, that it is good that my brand is doing something different in the sports world also. So it's a long way to go, if you ask me. But yeah, the traction has started in the last few years.
I'm very glad that you said that, and the real point of going through this question or listening to you for this is because there would be a lot of agency heads or designers or advertising crowd in this particular chat that we have. So I'm sure what happens is that the pressure of spending so much, and of course you have an ecosystem, we're trying to monetize and create a revenue through this. but initially it is a lot of expenditure. So I'm sure that the
It is
pressure
huge.
would be so high, to kind of, rub off the better side of, creating something like this and then actually seeing it convert into sales for the brand that is associated with it. But I'm glad that you said that there is, it doesn't seem to be like a large pressure. Obviously, you're on the side. I mean, from this perspective, you're on the client side. You already are taking the call. The chairman also is, in line with this whole thought process. And I'm very glad to know. And I mean, of course, a lot of renewed respect for the brand, saying that, there is no pressure. You're running, right? So I think you're taking it as it comes. It will have a rub-off effect. And both ways. That
True.
brand, both these things are happening. So I think this is great to know that. So there's another very interesting bit. You also mentioned this about creating the whole brand identity, because obviously it started from scratch. But it'll be very interesting for us to understand that how much of this, obviously the brand identity is done in terms of trying to connect to the fans. But then, how much of this, creating this whole identity and creating a better image for the brand, helps in performance of the sportsmen, of the athletes?
So over here, I will answer the question in a bit different manner. Before season 5, there was no identity of Kabaddi in the Gujarat state, barring only the one event happened on the Kabaddi World Cup in 2016. There was no event, or there is no viewership which was known to Gujarat, and there is no identity of Kabaddi in Gujarat. So we took the reverse approach. We said Kabaddi is a very, the rural, the very aggression part of the game. It happens, it's an action-packed game, and if you see it and compare it with cricket, it is even more action and jam-packed than cricket also, because every 30 seconds there is an action on the screen. So we said the aggression is supposed to be the core of the identity. And being a Gujju state, and me myself is a Gujju, so I know that आपका नवरात्रि हो या उत्तरायण हो, aggression तो अपने गुजराती ना खून माथी जाए नहीं. So that how we found a very sweet spot, and we said Gujarati. And if you see the anthem of the GFG, the initial there is a invocation happens, and that invocation has been sung by one of our Gujaratis, and that is also in Gujarati. Though the viewership people will not understand Gujarati, the invocation, the address to the audience happens in a Gujarati beginning. And slowly and gradually, if you travel 12 cities, there are 12 teams in the country. And as a matter of ritual, whenever the team comes out of the dugout and comes on the mat, the anthem of the team will be played. And in the GFG anthem, we have given a reference of a dandiya, aggression, our traditional songs also, doha, what we say, So that has given us a lot of respect and a referral that, the GFG has done something in return to the Gujarat fraternity also. That today, one of my opening dialogues says that, where a kid asked his grandfather that, Dada, apni bhi team honi chahiye kabaddi mein. So grandfather turns in an answer that ye kabaddi hai, garba nahi hai. That we can also ask for a team. So that is you have to challenge the fact also that you are not in the Kabaddi as a Gujarat, as a state, yet I am here to offer you a viewership, experience, and you'll have to enjoy it. So that being a different, but being on the same side is a very tough task to do it.
Excellent. Yeah, it was great insight. So this brings me to another question, which is linked to a question that has come in from you. Switch to that later. Let me ask you, in terms of the as an entry barrier, if you were to understand that there are entry barriers for actually getting into a sports league, or supporting a sport or creating a team. In the order of difficulty, could you name at least about 4 or 5 entry barriers?
For an individual,
First,
you are referring from an individual point of view?
from a corporate
No,
point of view.
corporate, so there is no entry barrier. I mean, if you ask me today, which are the greatest, I mean, the biggest corporate who does anything for sports, then you will know that it's Tata, it's Jindal's, so those are these corporates who do a fantastic thing in the, sports. And government has also, from last decade also, they are also allowing you to book your CSR expense in the sport ecosystem. So that has helped a lot. The corporates like Jindal's, they have created a world-class facility in close to Bangalore, where most of your Olympic medal winners, they are trained over there. There is a corporate like Tata, so who has done a fabulous thing for the athletes across the country. And now being Gujarati, Gujarat state, and the being corporate from Gujarat, we as a Adani group plan to do something good for the state and for the country as well.
Correct. So no, so yes, to answer the question in one way is the size.
Yeah.
Right. So what needs to be the basic size of a company or a corporate to get into this? So I meant entry barrier was also in terms of your basic cost. In terms of what is the start point. How much should be a company worth? You see, there are a lot of smaller companies, but they may not be in that league right now. And the best example I can give you is a lot of real estate. So good real estate companies are large in terms of the net worth, but they don't have the ability to really get into something like this either through a mindset, or even if they wish to, sometimes they don't have the bandwidth at the back end to be able to support it. So that's what I meant, in terms of entry barrier, both.
Neeraj bhai, you are absolutely right. They have the turnover, but what they don't have is the passions. It's a different business. You will not get your ROIs in 3 years, what you generally get in your real estate project or an FMCG brand. In sports, the ROI, the books will come in positive. If at all, it will come in green. It will come after a decade. So, when IPL started, the first, even the break even happened in the season 8. So those were the patience level, and you should have a love for the game. That is the biggest thing. It will not happen if you only are into the sport business from a business angle. It will not give you an immediate return for sure. And that is also one of the reason that few, the initial teams or the few initial leagues have not succeeded, because a lot of people invested with the understanding of an immediate returns. So that is how also leagues has failed in the country.
So I'll come to the other question. I think you really, I think it shows the amount of depth that one has got into, and especially understanding that it is not really about returns, and it's not about ROI only. It's about returns of a different kind. It's not really return on the money that is put in. But somebody has a question here that what are the key points in terms of research and expenditure planned before we create such a sports property? So in terms of how much of research, etc., must go in, either in terms of time or you want to put it in terms of cost.
So in terms of cost, it depends what kind of a sports or what kind of an ecosystem, which touch point you are planning to cover into. But getting into any research kind of a thing, you'll have to see first of all in sports, is there enough and more the infrastructure availability is there. So in Kabaddi, I know when we started season 5 a school competition, most of the schools say that yes, we will participate, our kids will participate, but we don't have infrastructure ready. Now basically you don't need any great infrastructure to play Kabaddi. For a modern Kabaddi, you need what is a big hall and a mat to play a Kabaddi. So we said, okay, no issues, we'll invest into the infrastructure. Mat cost is not a huge cost. It is a 10-15 lakh rupees cost only. And then we'll invest on behalf of each school, and we'll book a common venue when each school can come from Gujarat and they can play. So infrastructure is a key issue. Even if you see in Ahmedabad, from last 3-4 years, the football has grown in terms of the infrastructure availability. Now there are more than 8-10 grounds in the city where kids are getting trained. So the biggest entry barrier, if you ask me, for sports, any level of ecosystem in sports, is infrastructure availability and access to infrastructure.
Okay. And do you look at that, obviously, because we're looking at all challenges as opportunities, so that does become a good opportunity to create something.
Definitely.
Or to give back to the city.
Very true.
So I think, Mitali, I hope that has answered your question. We've got one from Sujit Chawda. I don't know if Sanjay ji can really answer this, but how open are brands today while spending on sporting events in terms of sponsorship? I think he's talking about a much lower end in terms of just sponsorship, not really creating your own team. But you must have come across so many others who may have.
Yeah. So brands are very much open because what happens, the fan and the ecosystem of any sporting and the ecosystem of fan is very engaging. So any brands, if you see today, the IPL, the kind of sponsorship which brand has participated, more than 300 brands today participated in the IPL. So brands are very much into it, and they look at it from the experience marketing kind of a thing. So brands are very open.
Yeah, correct. I think the opportunities are extremely high, and especially when you're talking about the entire ecosystem. And today, when I think there was a beautiful slide, where you showed pre-COVID and post-COVID. I think the entire engagement chart of the matrix has changed so drastically. And of course, not to say that the pre-COVID, medium will not be utilized, but this is given an opportunity to create all of these much maybe before its time. All of this, and especially from a fan engagement perspective. Because finally, I think it's a vicious cycle. It needs to come back both ways. I love the idea of Little Giants. I think it's brilliant because it makes so much sense. I mean, I think you're not only creating obviously future talent, but it's also creating a larger fan base. It's also creating more not fan base only for the team, but for the sport itself. And the moment that starts happening, I think again the need or the possibility of creating infrastructure by somebody else will also increase. So I'm sure, as the demand increases there, I'm sure the infrastructure will start getting better, like it's happening with football, as you said.
Very true.
So I think.
Neeraj, I have a question.
Yes,
please.
Yeah, with my curiosity, there are basically broader two types of architectures which you have in the brand. Like you have a branded house where everything falls under a single brand like Tata or Samsung. Every product which comes out of the same name. And there are also a architect which says that your house of brands, like Paras had Move, Ringard, Setwet.
Yeah.
So when you have the sports brand called Gujarat Fortune Giants, each individual player is a brand in itself, right? So you have like 18 brands under Gujarat Fortune Giants. So it becomes very difficult for you to maintain and monitor these players, with due respect to players, because the individual perform as brands. So how do you monitor that, and how do you tackle these problems?
Because Sanjay ji, to answer your question, we were carrying the number of players were 18. My support staff, including the 2 coach, masseur, physio, everything was 6. So 18 plus 6, 24. And my digital and the PR team was in the range of 7 to 8 people. So, and sports, and today it is more of a digital. So you'll have to manage the digital handles. You should ensure that there is a same tonality, there is a same, representation of the GFG, so that you have to manage. And today all the players are, they are well engrossed, and they have their own fan base on the digital. So it becomes all the more easy to manage the GFG or any sports today from an imagery point of view on the digital. I mean that is the easiest medium today, and you get your immediate answers. I mean, if there is a wrong, call out of an umpire for any raid or any touch, you will get to know within seconds of your live game that your fans are not liking that Sachin is going on a raid and he is getting out wrongly. So those kind of the mechanism of is became very fast because of a digital, and that is helping. But you are right, managing the identity of a team and a player is a different. But somehow people manage it. I mean, teams are managing that today, and I think that entire credit goes to IPL. What we have learned from Mumbai Indians, RCB, Kolkata Knight Riders. So they have taught us good lessons in the sports marketing.
Yeah. But it is more difficult, as you rightly said,
Very
than
difficult.
FMCG or any other product you manage. Yeah.
And I'm sure it may be even more difficult in sports where the sportsmen or the athletes are already popular.
Very true.
In this case, I'm sure, I think, it's kind of hand in hand. So they, in Kabaddi, I'm sure that in PKL, they must be, thankful to this entire league, because it's working both ways. It's also helping their popularity.
Yeah.
I'm sure that to bring them in check in that manner would be easier, from this individual performance perspective.
Yeah.
It's a crazy question. Now third season, and again, we always keep talking about ROI and monetization. Besides what it has done as a rub-off to Fortune itself, which we discussed earlier, what are the best monetization methods, or what has really worked for us as a team? Because
in terms of the PKL entire ecosystem, the monetization is yet to come in India. I mean, for any sports, including cricket. But if you see globally, one of the biggest monetization opportunity for any international games today is merchandising.
Correct.
So the branded clothes or the stuff what you get for Manchester or your favorite team is huge, but that is yet to kick off in India. But slowly and gradually it is picking up. So I think the merchandising is the next big wave which will come into the sports marketing and for the entire sports ecosystem. That will make the viability for entire sports overnight, I mean.
Sure. So great, Mr. Visra. I think the presentation was neat.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and I think it's a very good skeleton or framework, I can say, for anybody who wishes to get into this. I'm very glad that you were able to share this so kind of so easily, because it obviously shows a lot of effort that has gone into it. It's not things that kind of exist, on the internet. You put it all together through your experience. Obviously, it uses a lot of terminology which kind of exists, elsewhere. But I think this works extremely well for anybody who wishes to, get into this. And I'm sure there are a lot of friends here who would be able to advise or are already in touch with large corporates who, are kind of aspiring to get into this, and for the real reasons. And I'm extremely happy, and I must kind of end this with the fact that as much as you kept talking about empathy, you kept talking about, not really being bothered too much about the ROI, etc. Because there's patience required, there's passion required. I would also say that there was another very good take home from what you said, was the risk factor when you said, and we face this day in and day out, especially trying to make, the coach the face of the brand, right? I mean, when you're kind of using that. And you said that was an informed decision. I would say that the take home is that there are no clear-cut answers as far as branding is concerned. There have to be informed ideas. There have to be, you've got to take the lead. You need to know that there is a risk, but you do it, you stick to it, and then you let it, age and work for you. So I think that was one of the, additional take homes for all of us. So I'm very, very glad to have been, part of this discussion. It was great listening to you, Sanjay ji, and Mr.
Thank you, Neeraj.
Thank you so much. I think we do not have any other questions. Okay, we have one little quick one from G. Shastri. Is that right? Which part do you enjoy the most? Not just as a brand custodian of GFG, but as a CEO of a sports team.
Being, head of any sports is not a very great experience, which everyone can, sustain, because you put in a lot of efforts to build the brand or a team of a sport. And when you lose a game, that is the most critical time you can manage yourself. I mean, like I said, you can't go out in the field or on the mat to play a game, but you'll have to ensure being outside, that you win that game. So
Yeah.
that is the most critical part. I mean, when losing or winning is not in your hand, that is something where it is difficult to manage your emotions. So it is not easy.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Over to you,
So,
Sanjay ji.
yeah. So before we wrap it up as a ritual, we need to have a group photo with two Sanjays together. Yeah. Yeah. Please, can you please put on your videos, participants? Yeah. Great. Chandni, Natasha, Kushali. Yeah. We should all RP. Yeah. Rumesh, Kushali. Please put on your videos. Yeah. So let's have a group photo. Done? Okay. So thank you very much, Sanjay ji. I understand with your busy schedule and a lot of ups and downs, you could make this session possible for us, and we are delighted. We are very much thankful to you to share your
Thank you.
valuable experience, which are unique in nature, to the forum, and for the first of its kind event which we try to conceptualize and execute in Gujarat. And thank you very much, and Neeraj, for your excellent coordination for the session, and I am really thankful to you.
Thank
And
you.
to the audience, to the audience, we'll have around 7:30 a captivating musical session with Rahul, who is a talented Bollywood playback singer. So see you there. So we will end our today's session here. Thank you very much, all the participants and the speakers and the coordinator. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.